Yeah, I would ask Charlotte or someone of the secretary to start the video of Enrique. We have got a video from him.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Enrique Aragón from University of Almería, and today I'm presenting Punta Prima projects from trees to ship, timber, culture interaction, and climate in the early Roman Empire. This project was granted with the WWD Foundation last year, and me and my team want to thank their support in making possible this research and its success. Let's start then. The Roman Empire expanded its influence across the Mediterranean Sea by establishing a wide network of trade routes. In this system, ships and boats were essential conveyors of natural resources, manufactured products, and cultural aspects, connecting various communities and societies. Vessels represent a technological avant-garde of their times, and wood was the primary material used to build them. And timber, next to traded goods and technological ideas, was a pillar sustaining the growth and dominance of the Roman Empire. In recent years, along with the development of paleolandscape research methods and ideas, the interest in linking peaks and downfalls to climate circumstances have grown. Yet little attention has been paid to climate society dynamics in microregions during the rise of the Roman Empire. The lack of investigation is surprising, as this is a well-documented period from the paleoclimatic perspective, particularly in the Mediterranean region. This factor is even more evident when we are referring to islands, where natural resources as wood, forests, and trees are extremely important for the well-being of their inhabitants. Shipwrecks appear at this context as one of the major sources to connect wood and culture. Underwater archaeological sites are important in providing the organic material for studies, including the aforementioned timber, which allow us for multiple analysis and effectively inferences in the matter of wood supply, shipbuilding, and climate. Modern comprehensive shipwreck studies can only be addressed with a multidisciplinary approach that combines archaeology not only from history, but equally importantly with natural science, and paying equal attention to research and public outreach. Furthermore, evidence in shipwreck can lead us to the reconstruction of the past societies, directly involved in the transfers of technology and in the so-called chain operatoire of the use of wood shipbuilding construction. Formentera is the smaller of a group of 4 islands that form part of the Balearic Islands, located in the Western Mediterranean Sea. The Punta Prima shipwreck was discovered in Formentera during 2018, thanks to the Instituto Balear of the Estudios en Arqueología Marítima, as part of the works developed to create the catalogue of underwater archaeological sites of the islands. The site is located near the Punta Prima cliff that gives its name to the shipwreck, resting at a depth of 20 meters. The wreck is located at a large stony slope which descends gently from the peak to the bottom, ending in a large sandy patch. This fine-grained sandy area is also composed of shell remains and marine life of diverse nature, as well as rounded stone that could be part of the ship ballast. In the area where various artifacts were discovered, the sediment is circa of 1 meter thick, which indicates that the rest of the cargo could be buried underneath. One of the most significant elements that Punta Prima sites revealed were the preserved hull remains. However, it was verified that the central part of the hull is located underneath the sediments, occupying approximately 15 square meters. The structures on the seabed allow us to analyze the naval architecture in a limited way, but enough to notice elements from the transverse carpentry that match with their material culture and support the proposed chronology of the 2nd century BC. Moreover, the previous investigation at the site covered the archaeological recording of specific artifacts directly linked with the ship's cargo, such as stone mill, fragment of lead anchor, and diverse pieces of amphoras, identified as Greco-Italic and Punic Hebusitan, a local production. The latest evaluation of this site during 2021 showed that due to the dynamics of currents and the displacement of sediment that covered the timbers, these have been heavily attacked by Teredon navalis, a sea worm that caused deterioration of the waterlogged wood, which has seriously affected the integrity of the archaeological remains. Their state of preservation led us to the proposal of a systematic project that will allow not only to the study of the remains in depth, but also to protect them and make them known. Wrecks and their surviving timbers are excellent archive of the past environment conditions. The organization of wood procurement, evolution of shipbuilding, and the culture they represents. This statement made by Frederick Gibbal in 1998 has marked the theoretical framework of this project. And in this sense, the aims and goals have been focused in defining technological feature of the naval architecture. The Punta Prima shipwreck could reveal the identification of climate society dynamics in a very relevant historical context when Roman Empire it's just growing and changing the geopolitical realities of the Mediterranean Sea. This idea reinforced the interest in the comparative analysis of shipwreck context from this time period, giving us the opportunity to register not just changes in naval construction, but also the relationship with the use of resources as wood supply in this type of activity. Finally, this project highlights the necessity of protection and preservation of shipwrecks as one of the most precious archives when we are referring to the research and reconstruction of past environment conditions. The amount of organic remains that a wreck site normally present are extremely rare and fragile at the same time, suffering a continuous threat which makes the work of protection a must in any research project. The research team initiated the fieldwork in 2022 in the remains of Punta Prima shipwrecks, allowing us to develop an appropriate record of the archaeological evidence and start to discover the main features and characteristics that these sites present. A noticeable development in the naval architecture took place between the end of the Republic period and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Early seafaring vessels, generally characterized by keels of greater height than width, with twisted rigging strikes of quasi-pentagonal sections, evolved to the imperial period category, with most vessels having flat-bottomed water lines and rectangular section rigging strikes, with some metal nails joining the transverse carpentry to the keel. This transition occurred between the end of the 1st century BC and the 2nd century AD. A first approximation to the naval architecture of Punta Prima shipwreck have revealed a number of evidence that allow us to present an hypothesis of a small ship, far from what a priori can be concluded from a small vessel. In the case that concerns the study of the use of wood resources and the understanding of societies that use them, this type of finding allow us to suggest that this is a vessel that, due to its small dimensions, must have been built in a local context. This allows us to contrast with other large vessels that imply a construction scenario far away from the Balearic Island themselves. It is relevant to highlight the fact that both in the Balearic Islands and the Iberian Peninsula, there is an exponential increase in the number of known underwater sites dated for the 2nd century BC, that will allow us to cross-reference disparate shipbuilding timber resources and expose the fusion of cultures and the transition to the new material reality as seen through the naval technology. These examples of shipwrecks are challenging research subjects to dendrochronology, and the ships may be constructed of wood from different locations and various species, and might contain reinforcement traces, which add to the original chronology of the building material, but may be confusing in the process of data collection. Nevertheless, they contain an unparalleled abundance of information. The construction of a ship was typically a well-organized effort and could have required a large number of trees. The initial campaign of Punta Prima shipwreck have been focused in the analysis of microscopic observation of the anatomy of the wood from samples from different elements scattered all over the sites, strides, frames, planks, tree nails, wooden pegs, etc. The methods of taxonomic identification of the wood remains is based on the comparative analysis of the cellular anatomy of the different species. In this process, the project is supported by Dr. Marta Domínguez Delmas and Llorenç Picornell Jalabert, making possible not just the study of Punta Prima shipwreck, but also its comparison with other cases of study. Results from Punta Prima shipwreck, still under investigation, but comparative with shipwreck located at Balearic Island has started to allow us to show comparative database. In this direction, first results allow us to start comparing evidence from shipwrecks from Republican era as Punta Prima with others from early stage of the Roman Empire. That's the case of Sesquiumete shipwreck, dated in the 1st century AD, which is currently under investigation by the Balearic Institute of Maritime Studies, but that has advanced already in the study of wood samples being part of the cross-reference process that we are initiating with Punta Prima project. The identified species clearly indicate a provenance outside of the cargo, since woods such as Larix picea, Quercus caducifoli, and Pinus sylvestris nigra were not present in the Balearic Island in the 1st century AD. Although the Quercus caducifolia presents a diversity of species with a wide distribution in the Mediterranean and also presents in lowlands, Pinus sylvestris nigra and Larix picea indicates one origin of clearly mountainous areas, even high mountains where it is also they could develop all the other identified data. So it could be considered that the ship had been built somewhere on the Italian peninsula where they could reach alpine woods. A comparison with Punta Prima vessel, a smaller and potentially local produced ship, will help us to complete a wide vision of the wood supply in the islands. However, a major number of sites are intended to be compared to make this investigation and results more robust and consistent. This project follows the conservation criteria of in situ preservation presented by UNESCO principles known and accepted by all professionals in the field. In this sense, it's been respected as much as possible the preserved remains, minimizing the intervention of avoid alteration or losses. We must not forget that already the excavation itself causes strong changes in the condition and structure of the materials. For this reason, it is very important to consider a first aid protocol to ensure in situ preservation. In this case, an anaerobic context was ensured, provoking the lack of oxygen to create a combination of layers using sandbags, tarp, and in addition, the cover with clean sediments, allowing not just preservation, but also camouflage for the remain against potential visitors. Finally, this project has developed an educational program along the year, permitting not just to local divers, but also to local schools and university students to get an approximation to the protection of underwater cultural heritage, which is really important and relevant from this project. Well, thank you very much. I hope you can ask me questions or any suggestions through my email or personal contact. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the nice video from Enrique. So far I know he's not available online now. Right, yeah. So as he mentioned, if there are some questions or remarks, send him an email. So thank you for this.